is so different to other mentorships. All of them will say, keep at it. It's only a matter of time until it does work. Or, I know me better than anyone else. And for some reason, I'm trusting the advice of others over trusting the intuition that I know that I have. It's only when I stopped taking on all of this information and started implementing my own thoughts, I saw the biggest change. And Alex was always preaching that, always telling me to, just look at your intuition. What is it telling you? When you're able to look at those thoughts and realize, wait, if I just approach this from a different angle, I stop telling myself, feeding myself these lies about myself and just focus on what is the truth and the inputs that I need to do in order to get that output. That's been the biggest kind of needle mover for me.
How are we doing, sir?
Doing great, brother.
Let's go. Let's go. It's been a wild journey. I literally was just thinking about our call back in August. I remember it well. I was sat in a co-working space, Cafe Amsterdam. And yeah, it's been a fucking wild one. So I'd love for you to dive into who you are, who is Adam Paps, what do you do currently, and what is it that you've been working on this whole time, so that the people who are watching can know who you are. Fire away.
I'm spotlighted. Well, yeah, like Alex says, my name is Adam. I've been working with Alex for, well, pretty much over a year now. Like, I first met Alex kind of in person, which is also cool, in March of last year. So yeah, we've been at this for a little while. It's been great. At that time, I was not actually a client of Alex, but he felt the need to drop some wisdom on me regardless. And yeah, off the back of that wisdom, we ended up, I ended up asking him a couple of questions about some of the situation that I was in, and it wasn't from a business perspective that I needed help, but more so being able to look at myself and realize, like, there are so many things I know I need to do, and doing all of those things was so overwhelming. And that was the problem that I was struggling with. So having that guidance in being able to trust yourself because of, what Alex, has essentially taught me, and what Alex has been able to allow me to understand within myself, it just means that I can have that trust in myself to make the right decisions. And yeah, since working with Alex, we've had a lot of ups and downs with business. I've had business partners, I've worked on my own, I've worked online, I've worked in person. A lot of last year was just figuring out what does work for me, and just having that support throughout the whole kind of journey, speaking to other business owners in the group as well, just kind of hearing their experience and just being connected to this whole world. It's been a pretty fun experience, to say the least. And yeah, as
Awesome. It's been new. We met first in, I think it was November. So we went on the trip together in April. Tons of stuff has evolved since then on both our sides. I think it's so awesome to see where we're at now. And casting your mind back to when we were renewed together, why did you start working?
like I said, for me, it wasn't, I wasn't looking for guidance with business, because, everyone under the sun is trying to say, I can scale your business, or, just everything that you hear online about business and all of the negative connotations. And it was never that. Your focus isn't on directly impacting businesses, generating leads or teaching them outreach methods. It's essentially the trust that you have in your clients that, they're the business owners. They know what's best for them and their journey, and they just lack that trust in themselves. So for me, it was just seeing how much trust you had in yourself and being able to actually put me in a state where I trusted myself and I trusted what my brain was telling me and the decisions that I could make. And ultimately, it's those decisions that I've been able to trust, and my own decisions that have got me far greater than anyone else giving me advice. So ultimately, it's that power of being able to understand why you believe the way that you believe, and having that trust within yourself is just going to be the biggest kind of mover for me.
Yeah, you can definitely see it across the whole thing. You built up so much self trust as a result, and I think there's so many things that have come from that, which I'd love to dive into. What wins have you had from A to Z throughout this entire process?
Mhm. So when before I kind of really started to trust myself, I trusted in a lot of mentors and I spent a lot of money on mentors. And these mentorships weren't necessarily the right thing for me at the time. And I ended up racking up a mega credit card bill thinking that this was the norm for new businesses, that you had to spend money on mentorships. Yeah, being able to rack up that amount of money and be in that much amount of debt with a business that was very up and down, it was an overwhelming feeling. And, through kind of trusting in myself and getting myself out of that situation, I was able to clear that debt, which is, I think great for the mental. And then that kind of allowed me to continue to grow on my path. And then ultimately, like taking my business in the direction it went in and knowing that actually I was beginning to build a business that didn't quite align with what I wanted to do, but being able to have the confidence that, I was making the right choice, step back from that business, and then ultimately rebuild with a better understanding of what I wanted for myself and putting myself first, putting myself forward. I wouldn't have had that confidence if we didn't sit down every single week and practice the things that, gave you that level of confidence. So that has been a massive, like I say, massive driver into that. Now I'm kind of running this in-person business that I'm enjoying. It's very different to the online space, but in that same sentence, the fundamentals are all the same. Having that trust is all the same. It just brings me a lot more alignment with what I'm currently doing now, which was what we were looking for in the first place. So yeah, it's been great.
Honestly, it's super awesome. Everything that we've gone through so far is just been you stepping into the actual version of you, and that's everything that you've been looking for. So, how does the new person, the in person business look like to everyone who's unaware of what that is?
Yeah, so one of the things that I got very clear on was when I kind of faced these kind of hardships in this time, and I was like, what am I actually good at? And that was a question I started to ask myself. And, I lost a lot of confidence, in my ability to help other people. And it was only through kind of chatting to Alex, and I realized, I'm very knowledgeable and I can help a lot of people with the skill set that I have. And from a fundamental level, I realized that, all businesses are the same. And every single business, no matter the type of business, whether you're in person, whether you're online, all of these businesses require traffic. That traffic goes somewhere. Once that traffic has gone somewhere, they need to know that you are a business that can be trusted and that you have the solution for them. Once that business has, once the customer is confident that you have their solution, you can help them, that's when they'll reach out and that's when they'll make contact. And only when that contact has been made can you make a sale. And I kind of came to that conclusion, and it is put very, very simply, but that is the fundamental level of every single business. So what my service does is build the systems needed at those fundamental levels to improve on the current, like, to improve on the current metrics and the current position that the business is in. If a customer already has 100 leads a month, I'm not here promising them that I'll get them 500 leads a month, because that's a completely different service. It's being able to understand the customer journey of those 100 leads. Where are people losing out on? Are they trying to get in contact and they can't get in contact? That just that small difference can have such a big impact on businesses. So rather than charge thousands and thousands for those solutions, I've had much more fulfillment looking at local businesses around me, looking at local services that actually do need help, and going into those businesses and transforming those businesses. And I've just found a lot more enjoyment from that. It's my skill set to a T. I'm content with the current style that the current lifestyle that I've got. There's no lifestyle inflation. I'm just chilling. And that's been one of the goals that we worked towards, just having that kind of lifestyle that we've been able to build. So it's been good.
But once again, super good to see you grow into something that is suited you. And I think like the impact that you've had so far has been phenomenal. What do you think has been from when you started to where you are now? What is the impact that you've made so far on yourself and your clients?
The biggest thing is, like I said, just been trusting in myself. I always pushed the narrative on myself that I didn't, I'm not someone who likes content. I'm not someone who does that. And everyone I ever spoke to always said, well, you need to post content for your business. Content's a very, very important thing, and I understand that, but that doesn't align with me and it doesn't align with my goals. So having that trust in myself and the trust to kind of show other people that, I don't have to post loads on social media or exist, on outside of that to still have a successful business. Like that's just been one of those things that's like been very core to my beliefs because, I don't want to necessarily post myself all over social media and I don't have to because I know that my kind of methodology around that is working. And just having these systems in place for businesses, I set them up and they work. Like we're not over promising people that they're going to get a ton of new leads. We're just looking at the data that already exists, which is what I was failing to do when I first started my business, and actually doing what I'm best at, analyzing this data, coming up with a solution to improve said data points, and then watching the data improve as a result of that, which ultimately looks like increased revenue for the businesses that I work with. Because, from 100 leads, if you only end up with 5 of them on a call, you only have a chance to sell 5 of those people. Whereas if you manage to get 10 of them on a call, you have a chance to sell 10 of those people. So from that same amount of leads, you can double your revenue, which when you put it like that, it sounds so simple, but it's overlooked by a lot of business owners because at the end of the day, business owners want to focus on what they're good at. They don't want to be building landing pages. They don't want to be building customer email flows. They don't want to be managing sales teams. They just want to be doing what they're good at, which works well for me because I like doing what I'm good at, which tends to be the opposite of what the business owners are good at. So, working with these businesses goes kind of hand in hand, and it allows me to kind of, live doing the skills that I'm good at and the things that I enjoy.
Amen, man. Fuck yeah. In terms of gaining that self-trust back and getting the business that you've got now and then all the impact you've had in it, what have I done that is directly in detail contributed to that?
It's the confidence that you give me and you give the other people on the community calls, being able to look at the current bottleneck that we are facing and just understanding, is it a bottleneck? Like, are we making this problem bigger than it needs to be because of our awareness? And most of the time it is. And most of the time when you actually look at what is holding you back and you actually observe that thought that's holding you back and you realize, well, actually, those thoughts aren't helpful and they also aren't the truth. So when you're able to look at those thoughts and realize, wait, like if I just approach this from a different angle, I stop telling myself, feeding myself these lies about myself and just focus on what is the truth and the inputs that I need to do in order to get that output. That's been the biggest kind of needle mover for me. Like just actually understanding that, wait, these negative thoughts that I'm having, not trusting myself, there's absolutely no reason to do that because I've been able to show up in every other aspect of my life. So why not this one as well?
Appreciate that. Everything we do, I think it's super valuable to have that skill as a result of everything we've done together. Fucking awesome. And when you come to, so let's say you're sat next to someone who's on the fence about solving those problems and really just getting help for what they need to be helped on, it comes to that confidence, self-trust, and stepping into that version themselves, which they can clearly see and aware of their next steps, solving that problem. They were on the fence about getting help for any of that. and they were in your position way back when, what would you say to that person?
I'd say it's not just business. Like, if they're in my position, they were probably very, very focused on their business succeeding and failing to realize that actually their business only succeeds as a result of the effort and the input that they put in. And you cannot show up as the best version of yourself to be able to make those decisions and run the business that's capable of that level of success if you cannot hold yourself accountable in other areas of your life. And I think that's been one of the biggest things working with you, Alex, is that it's not just business decisions that I can make now. It's if I tell myself that I'm going to stop working at 6 o'clock and just go spend time with family and go to the gym or whatever I have for that evening, is being able to actually do that and holding myself accountable to the things that I tell myself I'm going to do. Because that ultimately leads into every area. If I say I'm going to make 100 cold calls this week, I'll make 100 cold calls. And, everything is in correlation with each other. And when you kind of have a balance in one area, it does affect, it has that bigger impact. So, if you are someone who's solely focused on business, solely focused on the outputs that you want, and you're neglecting like the actual inputs that are needed, you're neglecting the way that you interact with other people, the way that you even interact with yourself, then ultimately you're overlooking one of the biggest things and one of the biggest things that will drive your success. And you're most likely in the position you're in because you don't have an understanding. And that's where you come in, Alex, with that level of understanding. And, you're able to show people a better way of thinking. You're able to show people how to trust themselves, how to have that level of confidence. And obviously all the thought practice exercises that we do, the community as well, just, holding ourselves accountable every single day and practicing every single day, showing up for ourselves. It makes a very significant impact. And if you really want to drive your business growth, then, it's not necessarily what ad strategy do I use or what landing page do I need to build, which I focused on for so much time, but it's like, how much trust do I actually have in myself to make this a reality? And yeah, if you don't trust yourself, that's where Alex comes in. So yeah, it's been great.
Awesome. Beyond anything, I'm super grateful to have you as a client and everything that you've gone through on the highs and the lows. It's just built so much. It's a beautiful business, and you can really see yourself in yourself. I think that's more evident than anything. So to see someone else go through that again would be an absolute pleasure once more. And with all the rest of my clients, it's a thing I love waking up to every single day. So what a pleasure. I must appreciate it.
It's cool. I mean, it's like, it is so different to other mentorships. Like, I've spoke to other mentors whilst I've been working with Alex about, well, which direction do I take the business? Do I continue to focus on X? Do I continue to focus on Y? And, all of them will say, oh, keep at it. It's only a matter of time until it does work. Or, I've had advice like, oh, well, have you done this? Just up the amount of intensity that you're doing. And I think subconsciously I'm kind of aware that what they're telling me does have some sort of truth, but I know me better than anyone else. And for some reason, I'm trusting the advice of others over trusting the intuition that I know that I have. And it was only when I, stopped just taking on all of this information and started implementing my own thoughts that, I saw the biggest change. And Alex was always preaching that, always telling me to, just look at your intuition. What is it telling you? What is, what are these thoughts actually? What impact are these thoughts having on you? And ultimately, like, having that level of self-trust, like I said, just takes you further than anything.
It really is unmatched. And you're like a walking testament to that by all means. Everything that you've seen in yourself has come as a result of like operating at 350, of you trusting yourself so much that all the information didn't mean bollocks. It was you that moved the needle so much, and it's been awesome. Wow. Yeah, I've got no more questions for you, mate. You've covered the saucy journey that has been, and I think, yeah, absolute pleasure working.